Okay, good morning, everybody. So welcome back. So today's session is the 8th module, and we will be looking at how to onboard farmers onto the app. So just let me quickly run you through today's agenda. The first thing that we would like to take you through is the material to onboard and train the operators that we've already prepared and added to the Google Drive, which you can access. And as you will get to know through this presentation, the operators are the key points to be able to engage the farmers. So it's equally important to have them onboarded and engaged and well aware of their roles and responsibilities and how to operate the app before you can really move on to onboarding the farmers. After that, we move to discussing the user surveys and their relevance. And the user surveys essentially refer to a baseline survey and a post cold room usage survey that is to be undertaken with the farmers by the operators in order to make sure that we have sufficient impact information to be able to record on your behalf as well. And this impact information we plan on representing in the form of an impact dashboard, which will be regularly updated. And so you will have the impact numbers available as well for whenever you have to report it further. Then we will quickly go through the best practices that we have identified in terms of engaging farmers from some of our activities at the pilot sites. And then we have Deepak from Coldfresh joining us. Coldfresh is a company based in Odisha, India, one of the sites where your VCCA was first piloted. And he will take us through their on-ground activities in terms of engaging farmers and what has been successful and if there have been any challenges that they've faced. And this would be a great opportunity to also pose your questions to them in terms of the challenges that you're facing, because clearly as people working on ground, you're more in touch with the local realities as well. Then we have also prepared a comic strip that can be distributed among farmers as brochures when you conduct awareness raising activities about the benefits of cooling and what the cooling as a service model is and how they can use Coldtivate, which I will basically take you through the narrative of the comic strip. And you can, of course, access the comic strip after the session as well, and we have the links included. And lastly, Roberta will provide us with an update of the farmer's interface, which is to be integrated in the Coldtivate app. So with that, we begin. Yes. So let me take you quickly through the materials that are available as of now. So the first thing that we have is a walkthrough of the operator's interface, which was done in module 3. So if you see, we have uploaded it onto YouTube and you can access it. Oh, I'm not sure if you can see. Yeah.
We can see.
Yeah, but you can only, I think you can see my main screen. I also wanted to show you the where we have uploaded everything. But anyway, it's just you can access these links. So the first thing that I think would be nice to go back to would be the walkthrough of the operator's interface that Roberta had conducted during the during module 3. We have also created a list of frequently asked questions, and these frequently asked questions are questions that are asked by operators, registered employees, and farmers, and these have been categorized as such. So when you open the FAQs, you will see the categories specifically mentioned, and it would be nice to inform the operators about the fact that they can refer to these will be made available in English, Hindi, and Oriya as of now. And we will also talk about other languages in just a bit, like towards the end of the session. But you also have an editable version of these FAQs available to you, so that you can add some questions that we may not have covered but come up often in your context to the document. And of course, the operator should be trained to answer questions that are likely to be posed by farmers, so that the farmers also feel comfortable and confident in using the service. And lastly, we have two other printable material or content that you can use to ensure that the cold rooms are properly managed. The first is on the placement of sensors and how to install the sensors in the room, which would be here under the printable material. But along with it, if you want to revisit the session recording with EMPA and their presentation, those are available as well. And lastly, I think this is something that since the material was provided after the session, has not been referred to as often yet, but we have from module 3 material wherein you can actually see a proper set of recommendations with diagrams on how to run multi-commodity rooms. And these have come from years of research undertaken by EMPA. So please feel free to refer to these. And in case you have any queries that arise when referring to this material, reach out to us and we can, of course, guide you on how to use it and provide you with extra information if needed. Yes, with that, I pass the word to Roberta.
Great. So next, we want to just give you a brief summary of, we talk a lot about these surveys, but what do we actually mean and why do we want to stress the point that they're important? One of the reasons is that we do understand that this is, when you train operators, this is not the first thing that comes to mind, right? First, you want your operators to understand how does the check-in and the check-out operation, how can they be performed in Coldtivate, which is, it's totally fine. How do you onboard farmers? That's also, of course, crucial for the functioning of the cold rooms operations on Coldtivate. And so we have seen from experience that sometimes this part on the surveys kind of gets forgotten. And as it's nevertheless very important, we just wanted to stress this a bit here, going basically step by step through what are the surveys that we're talking about and where can you find them, okay? So we talk about two types of surveys. One, as Simran was saying before, is the baseline survey, which is basically aimed at recording which is the situation of a cooling user before he or she actually becomes a cooling user, right? So when, ideally, before this person starts using the room. And this you will, first you will see it when the operator signs up a new user, it will pop up and the operator can decide to either take the survey right away or he or she can click on complete later, in which case what happens is you can retrieve this survey and whatever has been stored there so far is going to be kept sort of in memory, and you can just basically continue from where you stopped before. And the place where you can find it, as it's shown here, is if you go to the list, if the operator goes to the list of the cooling users by clicking on any of them, you would be able to edit some details, and you would also be able to click on this button, Cooling User Survey, from where you get basically sent to the survey itself, which is what we see in the next slide. And it's quite simple. So there are basically three main questions. The first question is about what is this user in terms of, is she a farmer or rather a vendor or a trader, which just helps us, it's not mandatory, but it just helps us understand a bit more about the profile of the user of a given cold room. Then there is a second question, which is very important, which is about whether this person has already used the room before or not. This is basically in case you already had pilots or you already had the room before you started using Coldtivate, in which case we would like to know how long has this person used the room already. And the reason why this is important is that as with this survey, we want to picture the situation before using cold storage. Of course, we would need to discount some of the statistics for the fact that maybe this person has already used the room for some time. So that's the second question. And then the third question is about the commodities that this person is more likely to bring to the room. If you go to the next slide, there is just another screen, which is basically the same question, but like extended because it didn't fit in a single screen. So here we are asking questions about the top 3 commodity that the user, the prospective user, is likely to bring to the room. Why only 3? Because we didn't want to make the survey too long. We know that usually farmers don't have all this time when they come to the cold room, so we didn't want to annoy them with a lot of questions. And we thought that just restricting to 3 could be a good starting point. So what do we want to know for each of them? Basically, when you click on commodity 1, commodity 2, or commodity 3, basically this new part of the survey will appear. And if we go to the next slide, then we see what are the main questions that are basically repeated for each commodity. The first one is we want to understand, doesn't matter if the user is a farmer or a trader, but we want to understand what is the quantity that in a season this person either produces, him or herself, or trades. And that's really important because what we want to understand ultimately is what is the post-harvest loss that this person is experiencing before starting using cold storage, which is a metric that then we want to compare with statistics of what happens as the user is actually using the room. Okay, so here, basically you would ask, the operator would ask to the person how much is produced, and out of that, how much is self-consumed, sold, or lost, or sold below the actual market price. First question. The second question is, we want to understand, as we asked this per season, we want to understand just how many months does a standard season for that specific crop last, so that then we can also have monthly specific statistics. And the third question, which is also very important to then compare to what happens later on, is what is the average market price in a season of that specific crop. And this is, for example, in this case, in this example, this is for bananas. When you click on commodity 2, this disappears and you will have the same drop down for another crop. So you always choose your crop and then start answering these questions. We know from experience that sometimes it's a bit difficult to answer those because it's really, maybe kilo is not the perfect unit. Maybe they don't remember because it's long ago. Maybe they don't have a proper way of weighting their produce. We would encourage, nevertheless, the operators to really try to get this information from the farmer, because only if we have this information, we will then be able to understand what is to properly basically record what is the current situation before cold storage is used. Okay, so this is the first baseline survey, as we call it. And if you go to the next slide, the second survey is much simpler, very short. That's what we call the market survey. And you can find this if you navigate to history, and then what you will see is you will see for each of the rooms the list of the checkouts and the check-ins. And you see that each of the checkouts, which are here in orange, have these 3 dots. So if you click on the 3 dots, then you will see 4 things appearing, and the bottom one is fill in market survey. That's how you access this survey. And one thing that is also important to mention is that you have noticed probably that next to the checkouts, there is this red dot. The red dot is meant to be a reminder for the operators who have not filled in that specific checkout survey. And the red dot appears 2 days after checkout, and you will also see it in the notification, which is what the top arrow on the right means. So this bell, if you click on it, then you will see a list of notifications, and you will see that some are the market survey for that specific checkout has not been filled in. So this is really for the operators to be reminded about this. So once you click on fill in market survey, what you see is a very short questionnaire. If you go to the next, yeah, exactly, where there are these 4 questions. And these questions appear per commodity. So imagine the checkout contains 3 crates of bananas and 5 crates of strawberries. Then you will see 2 of this survey. So the first one will be for bananas, and then the second one, once you click on confirm, a second one will appear, which is for strawberries. So here, what we want to understand is first, where was the produce sold? At a farm, at farm gate, in a local market, or in case of India, via Enam. In case you click on local market, you can also choose which is the market, which of course gives us extra information about the patterns relative to that specific room. We want to then understand when you sold, so when the farmers sold the produce, and most importantly, at what price. You can imagine that then what we do is we want to correlate this information about pricing with the information, the average pricing that they declared at baseline, and average the results from the checkout survey over time and see how that compares to the beginning, sort of to the baseline. And similarly, the last question is about how much of the produce that was in storage got spoiled. If we want to be, very sort of positive in a sense, we would assume that everything that is stored in the room is safe from spoilage, but we are also aware that it can happen that, for example, because of transportation issues or because of other issues, some losses can occur after cold storage. And so this is a question in which we would like to understand how much that is. And again, what we want to do in the end is we want to compare this one with what was mentioned in the beginning in the baseline survey. Overall, all this information is used to understand more about what happens at the rooms and is being used to design an impact dashboard. This doesn't exist right now, right? So what you will see now is if you go to management, you will be able to see the revenue analysis and the usage analysis for each of your rooms and for different time periods. What we're working on adding there is what we have named an impact dashboard, which basically means a summary of the statistics that are relating to share the revenue and the utilization rate, but also statistics on the post-harvest loss that has been avoided and the estimation on the increase of the income of the farmers who are using the room. And we have learned from experience that this is something, so we didn't think about this initially, okay? This is why this is not developed yet, but we have learned from experience that this is something that cooling companies value a lot because it can really help in showing that the intervention that you're using, so the starting of the pilots of the cold rooms and all the work that they're doing on the ground, it's actually helpful in improving the livelihood of the users. And so this is something that we would like you to be able to first to visualize, of course, and also to export. And we think that this could be important for you to really show some data that are validated from the fact that this is part of the app itself, so that you can potentially use those to access financial services, maybe to prove to investors that your business is actually worth credit, so that you can, in the end, scale up the business, open new rooms, and serve more farmers. So we don't have a visualization of this yet. That's why there is this big question mark. But the idea here is that we are actively working on this. And as soon as we have sort of a first draft, we will also share this with you so that you can also maybe provide feedback on what you would like to be included there. And one of the things that we are also potentially going to include is something that relates more to environmental metrics in the sense of, for example, CO2 emissions that are avoided because of using clean power instead of diesel generator, and also because of the food that has been saved. So this is something that we are considering as well. And in case you have other ideas of things that you really believe should be in this, just come and talk to us so that we can integrate these in the design phase. I think I'll stop here and give it back to Simra.
Yes, before I proceed, I just wanted to check if anybody had any questions for Roberta regarding the user surveys, and if not, then I can continue. Okay, perfect. I think Roberta was quite clear with everything. Yes, so I will briefly take you through some of the best practices that we've identified in terms of engaging farmers, and a more realistic example of how this is being done on the ground will then be shared by Deepak. Yes, I just see that Alyssa posted a question. So yes, the user surveys are done by the operator at both the baseline and the post-usage checkout. Right, Roberta? I don't know if there's anything else you would like to add.
No, I think that's fine.
Okay. So yes, just to begin, The first thing that we recommend is to set targets for how many sessions and follow-ups you want to have with the farmers, whether you would like to engage them monthly, bi-monthly, and also based off of this, you can determine how many field staff or operators need to be trained. And also, it would be nice for you to have this defined in advance in terms of identifying whether the farmers are quite dispersed or whether they are concentrated in certain regions, based off of which you can also define the frequency of the meeting per day. And this is just a suggestion in terms of mapping out your training sessions and your training targets so that you are able to keep track of what is being conveyed and what sort of information you want to include in each session. So whether your first session is about just mobilizing farmers and understanding their problems, the second about understanding the benefits of cooling, the third about what cooling as a service means, the fourth about Coldtivate, and the fifth, and this is something that we highly encourage, is to also talk about gender-related issues or the gender-related dynamics. And because we want to make sure that you are able to engage both male and female farmers, we highly encourage having mixed gender training teams so that there's a level of comfort or that can be established between you and the farmers, or the field staff and the farmers. We also recommend that when you're actually conducting these sessions, if you have identified, if you've conducted a baseline survey, or even if you're able to identify different farming groups, whether it be different farmer cooperatives or bringing together farmers by the types of crops that they grow or their farm size or different conditions like whether their final destination is to a local market or whether they want to export it, you can also tailor the training sessions to their needs, especially since a lot of the training material included within the app also provides crop-specific information in terms of the optimum temperature to store it, which crops to keep it together with and which not to. So it is nice to segment the groups that you're working with as well, so that you're able to provide more information that is more relevant to their context. One thing that works really well as well is identifying champion farmers or essentially individuals in the community that are articulate, dynamic, and are willing to try new techniques. And these champion farmers are essentially the ones that you can ensure have tried out the room, understand how the room how the room works, and are able to carry this message on to their social circles. And when identifying these champion farmers, there might be some considerations that you need to keep in mind. Of course, there are younger farmers that are a lot more enthusiastic or are able to travel longer distances to be able to interact with different people. But at the same time, you may also want to consider somebody with a well-established reputation within the community to make sure that they're the face of the champion farmers to as a way of making sure that people actually listen and believe what is being communicated to them. The next recommendation were to have a lot of interactive tools and training strategies. And by this, we mean that make sure that you have, you might want to conduct different role plays in terms of making sure that people understand what needs to be done on each person's part, or you might want to engage in experiments where you show them that if they keep their crops, if they portion their crops and keep some within the room and some outside the room, then how the crops age differently. And this is nice for them to be able to really grasp the benefits of cooling, because these might be difficult to convince them about. Also make sure that you leave behind a lot of written material, or by which we mean brochures or printed guides that they can refer to, and that keeps the conversation going even after you've left or till the next time that you meet them. And a lot of this written material we're in the process of also developing for you. So the comic strip would be one example. And we have a lot of material coming in for the operators as well. So it's almost like training the trainers. The next, I would say, is extremely important and something that each company needs to think about in detail, given their own situation, is establishing a grievance mechanism to make sure that in case the farmers identify something that is not going well, in yes, for the app, but also in terms of just affecting the social situation, they have somebody to report their concerns to. And I would recommend having at least 2 points of contact. So of course they can refer, because the operators are most easily accessible. It's okay that the operator becomes one point of contact in the grievance mechanism or the way to report their problems, but it's also important to have another person in place to make sure that in case they have certain problems with the operator as well, there's somebody else to report their concerns to, and somebody that they can do this on a very candid basis with. And also have then in place a way of resolving these issues. And of course, if it's anything that is related to the app, please feel free to relay that to us, and we would be more than happy to look into what we can do in terms of making changes to the app to accommodate their needs. And the last is to incentivize participation during the workshops. And these are small things that I'm sure you're already doing, such as offering snacks after the session to make sure that they have something to look forward to. Another thing that I've seen in practice that has worked really well is when you're conducting sessions with female farmers, and if they have younger children, it's nice if there's somebody from the team that can hold a separate workshop or have a couple of games and activities to keep the children engaged, so the mothers are able to concentrate on what is being conveyed to them, and they know that there's somebody supervising their kids. And another thing that has been done by some of our partners is also to offer a couple of days of free usage of the cold rooms, to make sure that the farmers are actually able to see the benefits of cooling. And yeah, I think that is it from my end. And I will let Deepak share their experience on the ground now. Deepak, just let me know if you would like me to share the screen or whether you'll be sharing the screen.
Thank you, Simran. Yeah, let me proceed with sharing the screen.
Okay, perfect. You can let me know because I also have the presentation available and I can, oh, okay, I see your, yeah, never mind.
Sorry, am I audible now? I was talking on mute.
Yes, you're audible now.
Okay. So is the PPT in full screen mode, or you can see the...
No, it's not in full screen. Yeah, I think you need to, yeah, now it's in full screen. Thank you.
Oh, okay. So, okay. First of all, thank you, Simran, for the nice introduction. Good morning and good afternoon to all. Okay. So first of all, I'd like to congratulate all the organization that were selected for this incubator program. I believe you guys are doing a very tremendous work in developing sustainable solutions that can make a real difference in the lives of the farmer and environment. I know your ideas and technology will not only help reduce the post-harvest losses, but also improve the farmer livelihood and protect the environment. I'm confident that your achievement will serve as an inspiration to other companies and entrepreneurs in the industry. We need more people like you. I mean, otherwise, like who will take up the challenge of food security, climate change, sustainable development. So once again, congratulations to all the winners of the incubator program. Okay, so let's move on to the next slide. So let me introduce myself. So my name is Deepak Kumar Tudu. I'm the General Manager, Technical Services of Coldtivate Private Limited. So my another colleague, actually he's running late, so maybe he will be joining late. So Coldtivate is a 2.5-year-old agri-clean tech company from Rourkela, Odisha. It's one of the eastern state of in India. Currently, we are working in multiple segments, as you can see on the screen. Cold chain, solar PV system, waste management, chill value chain, R&D, consultancy. Okay, so we'll be focusing on the cold chain part. So if you see this slide, I guess most of the people can here relate. Like most of them may be having the same problems that they are addressing. So what we saw in Rourkela is like out of the many cold storages that are available, like many are not they have limited grid power access, they have limited storage option, it requires high investment, it requires I mean, it doesn't have any proper sustainable model. Also, the location in which the cold storage are present are not suitable for accessing. Okay, so because of this, you can see like the farmers, vendors, and street hawkers, they undergo distress selling. Okay, also the fruits and vegetables are getting wasted, due to which greenhouse gases are getting emitted. Okay, and the other problem that we are addressing is the SHG problem. So if you are not aware about the SHG is called as self-help group in India. So basically, there are around 7 million self-help group, out of which 76 million women are part of these 7 million groups. Okay, so basically, this self-help group are an informal group that consists of people who face similar problem. They come together to form a group to overcome their problems and improve their livelihood. Basically, they are all from the same economic background, and it helps them to access like the loans from the bank that will help them to fund themselves as a group. Basically, each SSG group has 10 to 20 members. Okay, and this SSG group, in general, it acts as a tool to help them to elevate them from the poverty line and improve their social status. Okay, so but what the problem we see is that in the SSG that we have in India, they did not have access to the latest technology or the training and the market access or the business acumen, because these SSG groups also they are micro entrepreneurs who work on like small things such as, you can see, candles, phenyls, agarbatti, what you call this, the incense sticks, and some food items such as the cake, biscuits. So they make all these items at a very local level, and they basically don't know how to market it. I mean, they make it and sell it at a very small region, but marketing is the main problem for them. Okay. So one of the project that I'm going to highlight is the Bloomberg Global Net Challenge. Okay, so back in 2021, there was this competition by Bloomberg in which around 600 cities took part in the competition and represented an idea how to improve their city condition in a sustainable manner. So Rourkela was one of the city from India which won this challenge. So total there were 15 winners, out of which Rourkela is one of the only city from India that has won the challenge. Okay, and yeah, I mean, second from the ASEAN. So basically, the idea was the idea that was proposed was like using the solar cold rooms, which are being operated by the women entrepreneurs, basically the SHGs that I told just now, the self-help group, and they will be the one who will be providing cooling energy services to the farmers. Okay, so yeah, so if you see, currently these all organizations are involved in this project. Bloomberg is the one which giving funding for the project. UNDP is doing the project management. RMC is Rourkela Municipal Corporation, the middle one, who is actually is owning the whole project. Delivery associates are the consultant who are also helping us in the project. We Coldtivate is actually implementing this whole project on the ground in the Rourkela city. Through Base and EMPA, we have the Coldtivate app, which is being used to digitize the cold rooms. So it is one of the important part of this project also, Coldtivate app. So yep, that is also helping us a lot. So how it started? So basically we installed a 5 metric ton cold room. So as you can see, this is not solar. So this is a pilot project. And it was installed in one of the market of Rourkela, inside the market of Rourkela. So this was operated by one of the self-help group who were onboarded and trained on how to operate the cold room. And basically we designed all the materials, like how to, the training material, the all kind of materials that are actually needed for operating the cold room and running the business. Also, like as I said earlier, like through our partner Space and Impa, we got this Coldtivate app, which was used by the women entrepreneurs for inventory management as well as deploying the servitization and business model. Okay. So after the after the pilot was successful, now we are currently in the phase of deploying 30 metric ton cold room. So this is right now, it's in the construction phase. So what you all right now watching is a 3D model. So basically it will be it's a 30 metric ton cold room, which will be entirely solar powered. And there will be a common facilitation center near the cold room. Basically in the common facilitation center, the SHG member can actually sell their produce. For example, the product that they're making, for example, the candles, the biscuits, so all the local products, they can actually market it, do proper labeling and sell it to the consumers. So coming to the operation part, like how we did this pilot and how we're planning to do this in the upcoming projects. First is onboarding. I mean, it's about self-help group. Okay. So as I said earlier, like there are around 7 million self-help groups in India. Okay. Out of which, I mean, in those 7 million, 76 million women are actually working for the self-help group. Okay. So SHG are the critical component of the project. So they're responsible for operating and managing the entire cold room infrastructure. Okay. They provide services to the farmers and vendors and help in marketing of the produce of the farmers to the retail customer. So therefore, it is important to build the capacity of the SHG to operate the project sustainably. So to achieve this objective, the team had actually conducted several meetings with the SHG to understand their need, the problems, what kind of trainings they required, to understand the gap, like what are they actually currently facing. So after the discussion with the team, we came to understand, I mean, we had a basic understanding like how, what kind of training is required for them. Okay. So basically we prepared around like some training modules. For example, the training modules included topics such as entrepreneurship, leadership, how to engage with the small vendors and farmers, how to engage with the residential customers, how to engage with the retail customer, how to do the survey of the farmers and the retail customer, how to do basic record keeping, the reporting, finance part of the project, how to do the cold room management, the digital training, like training them how to use the Coldtivate app. Since these cold rooms will be solar powered, so some basic training will also be provided, like how the cold rooms, the solar part can be handled by them. For example, basic cleaning of the solar panel, all these stuffs. And also these cold rooms will be uh, like they'll be having electric vehicle. So this electric vehicle, they also have to manage. I mean, I'm not saying that they will have to drive and all. So basic maintenance of the electric vehicle, the battery. So all this kind of training modules are being prepared for them so that they can be trained. And I mean, it's not a one-day activity, obviously. Like they have to be given training for a long time. For example, we're giving the training for a period of 6 to 9 months. And we believe that once it is done, then they will be able to run the cold rooms efficiently. So you can see here that this is the cold room, a pilot cold room in which the women SSG members are working. Also, the trainings are happening inside the cold room. You can also see the Coldtivate app training was also provided to them. Okay. So what we thought was like, along with the training, we need to have some key performance indicator. Otherwise, how to access their performance? Okay, so it is important to measure their success and with using different parameters. Okay, so we had different set of KPIs which were notified to them that you have to report it on a regular basis so that we can measure their performance. Okay, so that is part of the monitoring and performance evaluation. So the problems that we faced during this part of engaging SSGs, like the training part, because initially the training, even after discussing with the SSG, we saw many gaps in the training also. Like they required a lot of more training, and more materials were added to the training module so that they can get. I mean, the gap can be filled up. So yeah, many sessions were conducted to fill the gap. Also, since the SSG groups are working in a group of 10 to 20 members, so it is difficult. I mean, sometimes it's difficult, the dynamics within the group. Sometimes like they may not agree to all the things. So it's about like continuously working with them and sorting out the problem. So that is another problem that we faced, like solving the internal problems of the group. Okay, so any doubt in this particular part? Any questions for me?
I don't see any on the chat either, but if somebody adds something to the chat, I can read it out to you later.
Sure. Okay. So coming to the next part, yeah, the farmers vendor survey. So this is also one of the critical part of the project. Okay, so let me go to the first one. Okay, campaigning and promotion. Okay, so what we understood that in order to create awareness or let them know, like this cold rooms, that whatever cold rooms are going to install or that is being installed, at least the farmers and the vendor, they should know like where it is installed and the benefits of using the cold rooms. Okay, so initially what we did was like we prepared a few like posters or the banners or the flyers, and it was distributed in the market area. Just give me a second. Okay. Yep. So the farmers and vendors basically, so they are the crucial stakeholders in the project. So it is very important for us to make them understand like what is the objective of the project, what is the importance of this cold room, how they can get benefited, how it can help them increase their salary or increase not salary, I mean increase their business or the income that whatever they are doing through selling their products. So basically like through first was as I said in the campaign and promotion, the materials were designed in local languages, and like we gave them few infographics or few I mean it was in the local language so that they can at least understand like what is the benefit of the cold room. Okay, to further support the farmer, we also place different banners and poster in different market area so that at least they can see like where these cold rooms are actually installed. Okay, then coming to the survey part. So the team developed a comprehensive software-based tool that gathered essential information for the farmers and vendors. Basic information such as the age, the village, the type of fruits and vegetables they are bringing, the amount of sales. Basically, the baseline survey that Roberta mentioned in the initial part. So we need to have a baseline survey. So you need to collect as many data as possible. Okay, so this data will also include the sale, the wastage, like how much they're actually doing the distance sale, what is the market price, what is the average market price. So we used to collect the price, like what was the morning price, what is the afternoon price, what is the evening price, then what is the average price, what is the distance selling price. So all these factors are very important for the survey. So to ensure that this project is targeted, like utilized by these end users, the farmers and vendors, in a more efficient way. This survey is very important. So what we did was we we partnered with local business schools, and hired some interns, basically the MBA students, and we used them to do to conduct the surveys. And obviously like they didn't do it alone, like we were there in the ground to mentor and to provide support. So through different collaboration with the different local schools and colleges, we were able to conduct the survey. Okay, and once the survey was conducted, this survey was actually uploaded into the online format. It can be Google form or a Microsoft form. So once data is in the online format, it becomes easy to analyze. Obviously, there will be a lot of data cleaning required, but yeah, once it is there in the online, it will be good for doing the basic analysis and the impact assessment that can be done in the future. Okay. So as you can see, like this, some of the pics of the survey that have been taken. So the students, this MBA students that we partnered with them. So they were helping us in doing the basic survey. As you can see, like they were carrying hard copies. So it is easier to take the survey using a hard copy. Once that is done, then yeah, obviously they have to again re-enter those things in the online format. I know it's a rework, but yeah, taking survey, what we understood was like taking survey using hard copy is much more efficient than doing it in directly on the digital format. So, yep. Any question related to farmer survey? Okay. So moving on to the another module, that is a cold room awareness program. So along with the survey, we did some various awareness program in the villages. So what we did was like we identified the villages where we get the maximum fruits and vegetable, and we went there and did this awareness program. Basically, we educated the farmers on the benefits of the cold room. Okay, it was designed to increase the understanding of the farmers on the importance of the cold room project, its operation, its impact on the farming activities. So through the program, the team was able to sensitize the farmer on how to use the cold rooms that will help them in reducing the food loss, prevent distress selling, increase the sale. So this program is carried out through, various sessions like workshop, discussion, presentation that help them in actually understanding the concept. So this session was carried out like multiple times, like it's not a one-time thing. So the session has to be carried out in multiple villages in multiple sessions so that at least they can know like the cold rooms are located here and what are the benefits. Obviously, there were some problems like some complaint that the cold rooms are quite far away and there will be transportation cost. Okay, so we told them different analogies, like we told them about the bank, like how they use the bank. Similarly, this cold room is also is like a food bank. So we told them like the cold room is a bank, like a saving account. Just like saving account helps you to store and preserve your money, right? The cold room also will help the farmer to store and preserve their agriculture produce. Okay, just as people used to deposit money into the saving accounts and withdraw it. Similarly, farmer can also deposit the agriculture produce in the cold room and withdraw it whenever it is required. Okay. Also, like as a saving account, like you can earn interest, right, and grow your saving. Similarly, like if you keep it in the cold room and store your produce, uh, then the quality of the produce will be maintained and farmers can actually have a command over their prices by selling in the market, maintaining the market price. So by this kind of analogy, we were able to like make them understand like what is the importance of cold room. So yeah, maximum time it worked, but few are still complaining. But yeah, it will take time. So that was a good effort from our side. At least like we tried to reach the farmers. So the next goal is like reaching as many villages as possible. Okay. So during the survey also, not survey, during this awareness program also, we were collecting the data. Like we gave them the forms and asked them to fill up the basic the farmer survey data. Okay. And also we also helped them in collecting, like if they could not understand, we also took the survey. So every time wherever it is required, do the survey and collect the data. So once we have the data, it's anytime useful to do this kind of impact assessment after the project. So these are the peaks you can see, like at the village level, our team went to the different villages and conducted the session. So like we took a whiteboard, we took some posters, we took some flyers. Like you can see, our team is sitting on the ground and explaining to the farmers. And you can see in the last picture, like they're actually doing the survey. Our team is doing the survey, and the farmers were also given the form to fill up the data. So, yep, this is very much important also, because in the end, there are farmers who keep their produce in the, not keep, sell the produce in the market. Usually they sell it to the vendor, but there are farmers who actually go to the market and sell their produce. So it's very important to make them aware about the cold room. Okay. Then coming to the next part, the cold room ambassador program. So the previous was the awareness program, and this is an ambassador program. So basically, this is it's the same program for the farmers and vendors, but here it will be like it is on a peer-to-peer learning basis. So basically, what we did was we conducted session in which there will be 20 farmers, and those 20 farmers will be trained on different not trained actually, various information will be given. For example, the same thing, how the cold rooms are will be beneficial for them, what are the technical aspect, and how regarding the pilot testing. So we told them, like if you want to see for yourself, why don't you use the cold room for the first 2-3 months for free? Okay, so that's how we did. We told the farmers to use a cold room for first 3 or 4 months on a free basis. Okay, So that was a pilot testing for them, and also the survey was done. So in the basically in the introduction part, we told them like the basics of cold room, how to use it and all. And in the technical aspect, we provided them the practical training, like how to actually keep your vegetables and fruits, what kind of fruits and vegetables you can keep it in the cold room. And so just to get them, I mean, first-hand experience. Okay. And yeah, through this cold room ambassador program, the main motive was like whatever trainings and knowledge were imparting to them, they should pass on the same information to the other farmers. So that is the main part of the peer-to-peer learning. So you can see here like this is a 5 metric ton cold room in which the farmers were actually called, and this ambassador program was conducted. Then coming to the next part, okay, onboarding. So once we're done with the promotional activities, all this ambassador program and awareness program, so onboarding of the farmer and vendor is a very critical task. So to achieve this, so what we did was like we set up various counter in the market area, and through this counter, the farmers who were actually surveyed and the awareness program was done. So we told them like if you're actually interested in keeping up your produce, you can register with us. So basically, what will happen is once you register, we give them a ID card. Uh, Through this process also, like once you get the information like which all farmers are actually interested to keep their produce, that data can be actually used by the women SHG group or the self-help group to register the farmers. So indirectly, like it is helping them, helping the operators, that is cold room operator or the self-help group, to do the registration process of the cooling users, that is the farmers or the vendors. So this kind of activity was done. I mean, it is happening on a regular basis. Like we did that for the old cold room, and now for the upcoming project, we're doing this for in the new market area, in which every week, once in a week, we are installing this counter to help the farmers. I mean, to register themselves and indirectly help the SHG group to onboard the farmers in the Coldtivate app. Okay. The next part is forward market linkage part. So this is also one of the very crucial part, because just by we believe that these cold rooms are not only for these cold rooms are basically they act as an aggregator unit. So in which like if since all the farmers and vendors are keeping their fruits and vegetable, what if this fruits and vegetables can actually sold to the retail customer or the bulk institute? When I say bulk institute, it can be the hotels, the restaurant, the hostels, the temples or different religious places, NGO, or there are different wedding events happening. So there might be a demand, right? Like there is always a demand of fruits and vegetable. So what if we connect with them and provide this the supply we have from in our cold room? That if we give them fresh fruits and vegetable, then obviously it will be a win-win situation for the farmers and also for the SHG. Okay, so what we did was like we identified different this bulk institutes, the hotels, the hospital, the hostels, and we what we did was we again collaborated with a local business B school where we recruited some MBA interns, and they did the basic survey of this cold, not cold, I mean this bulk institute. So basically, they collected all the data. Like basically, the ultimate aim was to know the demand. Like what is the actual demand from this kind of uh, organization or bulk institutes. So once we know like what is the actual demand, based on that we can map those demand with the supply of the vegetables. We can tell the farmers or the vendors like this kind of demand is always there every day or monthly or weekly or monthly. I mean bi-weekly. So based on that, those particular farmers and vendors can be targeted, and they can keep their fruits and vegetables in the supply, I mean in the cold room. And in the end, like the SSG members, either they can purchase it from the farmers and sell it to the these retailers, or like it can be done in the other way also. So yeah, market linkage plays a very important role. And survey here also, the survey is very much required. Like we need to understand what is the actual demand. Based on the demand, we have to map it with the supply. So this is what we did for market linkage. So you can see in the photos, like the farmers, not farmers, the interns are actually taking the collecting the data from various hostels, restaurant, hospitals, like what is their weekly demand, what is their daily demand, what is their monthly demand. So based on this demand, we will use this data to do the supply side thing. Okay. Then coming to the last part, interaction with the government. So I believe this is also one of the important part, because wherever you're operating, you should understand what the government are currently doing. I mean, how are they involved? So what we did was, like, we got in touch with the local administration, basically the agriculture department. We understood like what kind of farming activities, I mean, the whatever information they have, like what kind of farming activities are happening in those particular areas, or in which the cold rooms are located. Okay. So we understand if they have growing a particular kind of crops or vegetables. We also try to understand the supply, like what kind of crop foods and crops, vegetable fruits are they are being grown, so that we can also map this supply, this data with the uh, demand side. And also, like we also inform the government, like these all cold rooms are whatever we are working on, the current cold rooms and the future cold rooms. If we tell them these cold rooms are going to happen, at least what they can do is they can inform the farmers through their different channels. Like they can keep the produce here, the cold rooms here are there, and they can actually use the cold rooms. So basically creating a supply chain, like it will be once they know, it will help them to reduce the food wastage, and also like it will also help them to get a supply chain. Okay. And in this process also, like we also get feedback from the government, like what else can be done, how we can improve our working mechanism. And also, like because the mechanism varies from place to place, so it's very important to capture all this information. So yes, so building a relationship with this government entity, that also helps a lot in building your entire project. So hope you all got a brief idea, like how we did and how we are going to operate. So that's all. Thank you. Any questions?
If anybody has questions for Deepak, you can also drop them in the chat, and we can always read it out for him.
Sure.
Yeah, but thank you so much, Deepak. It clearly shows that you have to be working on many fronts to be able to engage the farmers, and it's definitely not an easy task. But thank you
Sure. I mean, right to say it, because it's not a one-time task. Like every time you have to continuously be engaging with the SSG group, the farmers. So it's a long process, because you cannot teach them business on. For the women entrepreneurs or these SSG groups, you cannot teach them business overnight. It takes a lot of like hand-holding support, like for 6 to 9 months to actually train them. So yeah, it's a long process. And for the farmers, it's all about awareness. The more you make them aware, and the more you make them know about the benefit of the cold room, it will be like a win-win situation for them also, because in the end, by this process, they will be saving their fruits and vegetables and also increasing their livelihood. So, yep. Thank you, Simran.
Certainly, thank you. I will go ahead and share my screen again now. Perfect. So this was a bit of an introduction to Cold Fresh and all the work that they're up to. Please feel free to also connect with them directly or over LinkedIn. We can always provide you with their information if you want to carry forth the conversation even post this webinar. We also have a case study that we have written about Cold Fresh that is available if you want to understand their activities more in detail. So the next thing that I would like to take you through is the comic strip that we've come up with, and I have just extracted a couple of scenes from the comic strip to be able to share the narrative with you. The comic strip essentially looks at two farmers, and in this case, we've tried to make sure that we represent women as those using the cold rooms as well, so that they feel represented and they feel like this is something that they can take on as well when the brochures are distributed to them. And equally, to make sure that they recognize that they can also take on the role of the operators. They have been represented as the operators in the comic strip as well. And the narrative goes that there are two farmers, and you see that one of the farmers essentially decides to cover their at the end of the market, they just decide to cover their crops with tarpaulin instead or cloth instead of actually storing it. Whereas farmer number 2 is able to decides to try out the new cold room that has opened in the village. And here you see the operator checking in the crates. Then you see that the benefit of using the app is that even when you're at home or when you just get a notification to let you know that you have so and so number of days remaining to sell your crops, and this would be a good time to withdraw the crops and sell them in the market. Here, in case it's not a smartphone, but a feature phone or a basic phone, in that case, it has to be that it comes via a SMS from the operator or a call, so that the farmer remains informed. And this is something that needs to be arranged with the operators when you're training them. Then the other thing that we're trying to really promote through this comic is for farmers to inform others about why their crops are, how they can use the cold room, what the benefits are, and to spread the word about cold room. So in the fifth scene, what you see is farmer number 1, who had just covered his crops, complain about the fact that his crops were rotten and he wasn't able to make much money from it. And that's when farmer number 2 steps in and tells him about the fact that she had stored her crops in the cold room. And while it is not shown in the selected scenes or the scenes that have been extracted here, the comic also explains what cooling as a service is and how cooling as a service operates. And lastly, what the scene tries to show is if there are a lot of farmers that join hands in using the cold rooms, then there's potential for the cold rooms to be expanded and turned into aggregation centers. And what we mean by aggregation centers is that if a lot of farmers are able to bring together their crops and using Coldtivate, if you're able to monitor how much of each crop is in the room, you can also have forward market linkage or ensure that these crops are being sold to wholesale retailers so that the farmers have guaranteed income. Now, we have these comic strips available in 2 formats. One is a brochure, an A4 brochure, and the second is a scene-by-scene presentation in case you want to show these to farmers as a presentation, and these are available as PDFs, but also as editable versions, which you can find in, it's been linked here below. Please feel free to download it and edit it. We will, again, as of now, we have these available also in Hindi and Urdu, which is something that we will make accessible. But in case you feel like there are any context-specific details that you want to add, you can make changes to the text before you print them for your training sessions. And lastly, I will let Roberta talk to you about the farmers interface.
Right, thanks, Imran. We wanted to basically inform you a bit about where we are on this, because we have been mentioning this, I think, from the very beginning of the incubator. So the possibility for the farmers who have a smartphone to actually use the app themselves. And this is also something that came up in one of the questions just now during the session. So we are a bit delayed with respect to where we would like to be. So basically, as you know, in Coldtivate right now, you can sign in as a registered employee or as an operator, but if you click on calling users, then you see that there is actually no option for the user to input his or her details. And the reason why we're a bit late is that this is quite a complex process, because basically what we want to ultimately do is we want to support both options. So one side, we want to keep things as they are, meaning for farmers who don't have a smartphone, the operator should be the person who's signing up these type of users. But at the same time, we want to complement this with the option for the cooling users who have their own smartphone to register themselves, and the two things should be talking to each other, right? For example, in the case in which an operator has already registered a cooling user, and now the cooling user actually also has a smartphone. So we need to be able to make this transition sort of from one scenario to the next. But we are working on it. We haven't forgotten this, and we are currently testing this. So we think that we would need around another month probably before this is released, but this is coming. And what this means is that this will give basically the farmers an opportunity to get informed about everything that happens in the cold room. So what they have in storage, how much should they pay when they come to check out the cold room, what is the remaining storage life of the produce that they have in storage. It also gives them the opportunity to fill in the survey themselves, so that it's less work for the operators and not everything needs to be done at the cold room. So sort of making the operations by the cold room a bit faster. At the same time, what will be available for the farmers who have no smartphone is that all the notifications that would be received as as part of the information that it's in the bell on the top right of the Coldtivate app will be received by the farmers via SMS. And the idea here is really to basically try to be inclusive with as many farmers as possible. And on this, I want to comment on a question that I saw in the chat, which is about the users without a phone. The idea there is that there is only one user without a phone, and you cannot actually edit the details. That's why save changes doesn't work. The idea is that this is really a backup, but we would encourage the operators and when you do the training to advise the farmers to provide the number, even if they don't have their own phone. Maybe there is somebody else in the household who has a simple phone. We would encourage them to register as a user. So not a user without phone, but a new sort of cooling user, a fresh one, with the phone number of one of the household's members, because this will allow them to then receive the message per SMS. And if you just, sure, you can record check-in and check-outs with the user, which is called user without a phone, but this means that you don't have a mean of communicating with the actual user. So this is really not recommended. It's not something that we want to incentivize. We have it there because we know that in some cases this is the only scenario possible, but we would encourage you as much as possible to motivate the farmers to be registered with a phone that, even if it's not their own, it's a phone to which they could have from time to time access to. Last thing I want to say before concluding is the fact that we are, as you know, there are 3 languages now in Coldtivate, and we think that this is going to become more and more important as the farmer interface gets ready. And so we would like to have an ongoing conversation with you regarding what are the local languages that you think are important to be integrated. I know that IO already one of the companies, basically the text that it's into the Coldtivate app so that this can be translated and then integrated. And I would like to encourage anybody else who thinks that this is relevant for them to also maybe write us on Slack so that we can see how we can arrange that. And this means on one side, translating the app so that basically what happens is that here on the top, on the bottom of the first screen, the welcome screen, you can choose your language. So if a farmer only speaks a local language, he or she can also be included and able to use the app. But these also mean more broadly, in case you want to translate the FAQs or the tutorials that you have provided, the comic strip, there is a way for you to do it with editable version, the editable material that Simran shared. But in case you need any support on that, or you would like us to contribute to that in some way, maybe we can find a way to help. And also, if you are willing to share, then in case you translate, for example, some text, I don't know, the tutorials, and you would like us to have access to that, we would be very grateful, because this means that then that translation can be used for a broader audience. Of course, this is up to you, but in case you want to contribute to that in the other direction, sort of, that it would be, we are very open to this, and we can also discuss how we can then acknowledge your contribution in that. Manish has a question. Is it possible to... So what you will, so I'm not sure, Manish, that I understand what you mean. So there is some information about the, so in the Knowledge Hub, there is some information about what is the average storage time for different crops. I'm not sure if this is what you're referring to. And then what happens is that right at check-in, you get information about what is the storage life for that crates.
Yes, see, right now after we check in, it shows the number of days the crop or the produce can be safely stored. Is it possible to suggest that before we check in, so that we can tell to the farmer that it's good to store it for 15 days or 20 days?
And the reason you want to do it before the check-in is complete is that maybe it's not worth it for the farmers to store. Did I get it right? Because you get the information right after check-in. So the farmer should still be at the cold room and see that. Right? But are you concerned about the fact that, if, for example, the model tells you the strawberries only have 0 day, maybe the farmer should not store them at all?
Yeah,
because I'll tell you what the problem that I see. The problem that I see is that the temperature that it's used to do the estimation about how much time is left is the temperature of the cold room. So it assumes that the things is stored inside.
Yeah.
So that prediction for a produce that never enters the cold room would be inaccurate.
Yes, but when we ask the farmer to pay for certain number of days, and then it shows a different number of days over there. So then again there is some confusion. Let's say we tell the farmer that it will be good for approximately 5 days, and it shows that it is going to be good for only 2 days or 3 days.
Yeah, I'll think about it and then come back to you. I think that's the best. But thanks for this input.
I think one way to also sort of, when you're letting them know about the number of days, is the fact that since we have in the Knowledge Hub the number of days that they're likely to be good for, if you can ask them when they had harvested the crop, you can also realistically give them an estimate. But I think definitely this is something that we will have to think about, because so far the way we've been working is the payment is done post the checkout. So based on the number of days that they have used it, they do the checkout. But we can see, yeah. how to accommodate this request for sure. But thank you for highlighting that.
So this would be the last slide of this presentation. Actually, I think we covered a lot of things already, but if you have more questions and things you would like us to discuss in an extended group, please go ahead. And otherwise, we remain available for, of course, all questions on Slack during the week. And then we have another session next week, and we will be sharing some material for you to complete early next week.